Here we go.
Fact check. Did Hamas behead babies? Let's look at what we know so far about where this claim came from and why some media outlets and the White House have retracted the claim. On Saturday, October 7th, Hamas attacked the kibbutz of Kfar Aza. Members of the media were granted permission on October 10th, 3 days later, by the Israeli army to visit Kfar Aza and witness the aftermath of the Hamas attack. During the visit, a reporter from Israeli news outlet I-24 tweeted saying, "Soldiers told me they believe 40 babies, children, were killed." As the day progressed, the information morphed from at least 40 babies were killed to some were beheaded. On the day, the Israeli army could not confirm beheadings. The very next day, in London, commuters were subjected to this horrifying and unverified headline. On October 11th, many Western media outlets jumped on that claim, quoting the spokesman of Israel's prime minister.
The Israeli prime minister's spokesman just confirmed babies and toddlers were found with their heads decapitated in Kfar Aza.
But many of those same media outlets were forced to walk back their reporting, issuing updates like this one. Israel cannot confirm the specific claim that babies were beheaded in Hamas attack. Later that day, during a press conference, American President Joe Biden claimed he had seen photographs of beheaded babies, saying,
"I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children."
The White House later retracted the statement and published this correction. US official and the president have not seen pictures nor confirmed such reports independently, but the damage had been done. Biden's initial claims were already featured on the front pages of many news outlets and continued to be cited in some quarters as justification for revenge attacks and the collective punishment of civilians in Gaza. Once these claims went viral, other journalists who were on the same visit to Kfar Aza on the 10th of October say, "No one spoke to me about beheadings, let alone beheadings of children, let alone beheadings of 40 children." Another Israeli journalist said, "During the tour, we didn't see any evidence of this, and the army spokesperson or commanders also didn't mention any such incidents." Sky News correspondent on the ground also confirms not being able to confirm these claims.
We have not seen the evidence of that. We have asked the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, 3 times to confirm those numbers. They have not yet.
Later, the same journalist that broadcasted the claims of the spokesman of Israel's prime minister posted an apology, saying, "The Israeli government now says today it cannot confirm babies were beheaded. I needed to be more careful with my words, and I am sorry." Hamas has denied claims that its fighters beheaded children, calling them lies. As details continue to emerge from the aftermath of the Kfar Aza attack, the line between facts and misinformation has blurred. Lies and half-truths have been disseminated by officials and mainstream media in what is becoming a propaganda war.
So, just to be clear, you can lie, flat out lie, report unsubstantiated, absolute bullshit, which triggers wholesale support for a genocidal action against a people, and keep your job. But you can refuse to do that, to lie and report on unsubstantiated bullshit and legitimize unsubstantiated bullshit and lose your job. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the lies just, keep unraveling. I've been following the heartbreaking and in-depth reporting at Electronic Intifada, and they reported yesterday. I'm going to share this here. They reported that Israeli forces shot their own civilians, according to a kibbutz survivor. So there she is there, and she gave several interviews.
Wait,
and
hold on a second. It's not
Here
on
she
the
is.
screen. There it is. Yeah.
There it is. Okay, so Israeli forces shot their own civilians, including, she says, this kibbutz survivor. So she's there. An Israeli woman who survived the Hamas assault on settlements near the Gaza boundary on October 7th says Israeli civilians were undoubtedly killed by their own security forces, and it happened when Israeli forces engaged in fierce gun battles with the Palestinian fighters. She says they eliminated everyone, including the hostages. There was very, very heavy crossfire, even tank shelling. And she said prior to that, she and other civilians have been held by Palestinians for several hours and treated humanely, and she later fled. So, I mean,
Can I just piggyback off of that, or veggie back, or whatever we're supposed to be saying now?
I've never heard that before.
Because that's from hanging out with Geechee.
That's so cute. Okay.
And then he does a whole other one too. Can I tofu wrap back off of something like that? He's got a whole thing. But because I've also been following Electronic Intifada and got that same and got from their YouTube channel because that was an interview from Israeli state radio. So you can hear her giving this interview, and then you just read the translation. It's in Hebrew. But I just wanted to highlight the point that you ended with, that she says, and she has to repeat herself because the interviewer he's like, wait, say that again. Because when she says, oh no, they treated us humanely. They were very, the people the people, the Hamas fighters that took us hostage, were not violent at all. They were very concerned about our stress levels, something to that effect. And she said when they saw us getting stressed, they calmed us down. And then she goes through the story of saying how one of them that she had developed a rapport with, become friendly with, had said, I'm now going to surrender, and it started to sound like the now I'm drawing a blank. The Eldridge Cleaver, Bobby Hutton story, because he starts telling her, I want to surrender. And she says she's shocked by the fact that he starts to disrobe so that he can go out and show that he's unarmed. And then she says he goes out and says, I'm unarmed and I want to surrender. And basically they just shoot everybody, including her neighbors and the civilians that were there. So she says she lost basically the whole neighborhood. They killed the whole neighborhood. They firebombed houses. And she's saying, we're just a kibbutz. We're just a small, we're a little settlement. So you start firebombing to get them, you're obviously going to get us. So she's saying, and then he has to keep asking her, to repeat herself. Did they treat you humanely, and are you sure that our civilians were killed by our forces? And that's what she has to say repeatedly. Undoubtedly, it was and then that she lost a whole bunch of her. So in addition to that story on Electronic Intifada, I mean, they've been talking about obviously the horrors of what Palestinians are suffering, and getting some reports from the few people that have some cell service left that can get some calls in and out here and there. And you're hearing, I mean, they're turning, as it was reported, hospitals into graves, and there's all this discussion of preparing for a land invasion, and what it's going to be like, and what is it, the Qassam forces, defending against Israeli ground forces, and having all the tunnel systems, and what is that going to look like, and what is the media going to look like when Israelis are really coming up in large numbers as casualties in response to that? Will Hezbollah's crew get involved, who are much more sophisticated and prepared for ground warfare and all that kind of, I mean, and all at the far end, and I'll stop here, but all at the far end is Netanyahu and his crew and his cronies, who at the end of the day, as Chomsky wrote 30 years ago, they want this. They like this. They benefit from this. They were even talking about on Electronic Intifada how Netanyahu is his biggest concern at this point is defending his legacy, which will now be marred as falling down during this security crisis that allowed for this invasion. And he's willing, like any lunatic, to do anything to personally save his own legacy and remind people that he's the tough guy and not the one that got run over. And so they're expecting it to get worse. Imagine, if you can imagine, running out of water, all this. I mean, it's just, it's so